believe me, just watch.
Back on the Morning Brew with friends, and I love having old friends on. This is Jonathan Miller, and he's talking about his brand new book. This one's A Million Dead Lawyers. And what's A Million Dead Lawyers?
A Million Dead Lawyers is a good start.
That's awesome. And this is one of the Rattlesnake Lawyers series.
Correct.
And you're dressed up. You got a court date?
I've got a jury trial at 9 o'clock right down the street.
So you actually are a working lawyer and a working author.
Right.
At the same time.
And then after I finish up here in my trial here, I'm going out to Tucumcari for another case.
Oh, wow. So in all of those travels around the state, what kind of law do you even practice?
Criminal defense.
Okay. And when you're doing all of that and you're all around the state, is that where you pick up a lot of the ideas for your books and your characters? Because you don't just write about Albuquerque. You know, sometimes you do.
Well, I read about the whole state, and when you're traveling, you notice things. Like the most beautiful exit in New Mexico is exit 263 off of I-40, San Ignacio, New Mexico. So if you're ever driving on I-40, there's this amazing lake. If you hit it right at sunset or sunrise, you get these amazing pictures.
And you write about that kind of stuff in these books?
I write about that kind of stuff, those details.
That's
also,
cool.
Best restaurants, worst restaurants. Like the best Chinese food that I've ever had in New Mexico is in Shiprock.
Huh.
And that's actually, I put that in one of my books.
That's cool. That's super cool. And also in this one, we were talking about flying cars a minute ago.
Yes,
there's really a flying car in this?
There is a flying car. It's set in Albuquerque in the year 2112.
Okay.
And only the elite have flying cars. And the love interest, the woman from the future, lives in Mesa del Sol in this gigantic building.
Does Mesa del Sol make it by then?
It does. Again, that's fiction. And actually, the most unrealistic thing I have in there is I say there's a bullet train going down to the spaceport. And I know that will not happen.
Right. Well, we might be able to rapid ride down to the spaceport by that point.
I hope so. The
Maybe
spaceport is... A scene in the book takes place at the spaceport.
That's really cool. In the book, is it actually making money?
Not yet. That's why I'm on your show.
That's awesome. That's cool. So what's this book about, A Million Dead Lawyers?
Well, it's a lawyer from our time, a character sort of based on I call it a darker version of me.
Okay.
In that he's got a lot more issues. He dies and suddenly wakes up in the year 2112.
They like froze his head and then bring him back to life?
Something like that.
Okay.
And he has to do the first jury trial in 100 years because there are no lawyers. Everything's done by computer.
Oh.
And I wanted to make sure the legal part works as a legal thriller and the science part works as a science fiction thriller. And a lot of it is the value of jury trials, the value of being judged by your peers. So there is a message that there are flaws with our legal system, but we should never throw out trials by jury.
Cool. So I've known you, 15 years as an author. How many books have you written? Every time I see you, you're like, I got a new book.
I've got 9 novels in the Rattlesnake Lawyer series and 2
look what we found.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I have a bunch.
So 9 novels in the Rattlesnake Lawyer series.
Correct.
And then 2 in the which one?
2 nonfiction books.
Okay.
One of them you can see is called Laws and Loves. It's a nonfiction book.
And when you write nonfiction, what's your focus?
Just funny stories that have happened to me as either law or in Hollywood. I lived in LA for a while. I went to the American Film Institute, so I have a master's in film, and I actually wrote on a TV show.
Oh, really?
And I talked about the adventures that I had trying to make it and ultimately failing.
And that led you back home to become a lawyer?
Yes.
And then you brought in one of your older books.
Right.
When was this one published, Navajo
That was
Repo?
published about 2 years ago, and
because you look a lot younger. I don't know if you can see the photo on the back.
that's Window Rock on the back. And I wanted to write a Western. It's a modern Western. It actually has the same character. Marlowe's true love is kidnapped, and he gets a team of Navajos to help him rescue her. And it's actually the Searchers with a Navajo woman in the John Wayne role.
That's cool. That's super cool. So, a lot of this, it was a struggle to get started for you writing.
Right.
Remember when you and I first met, I think 15 years ago,
right.
You were just getting rolling and you were trying to get books out. How has it progressed since then?
Well, I think it's, I've got a national reputation, which is good. I'm focusing more on law right now. But it's, there's always interest from Hollywood. We'll see what happens, but there's been interest from Hollywood for 20 years.
Right.
So I'm hoping now that Albuquerque is such a hub, that I'm hoping we can take it to the next level.
Yeah, well, they always say the first novel is the hardest. Is that true?
It took me 10 years to write Rattlesnake Lawyer.
And then in the last 15 years, you've written
I can write
8 more.
a book a day, almost. A book a year.
A book a
That's
year.
my goal.
That's it. That's cool. So how many more do you have in you? You think you got 25, 35 more books in you? Or do you think that there's an end game to this or a new series or something?
Well, I've already outlined the next book, which is going to be called Rattlesnake Honeymoon.
Ooh.
Which is going to be back to Dan Shepard, who's sort of a closer version of me. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be, since I travel so much, I want to incorporate the travels, the places that you don't see in books, like Clovis, Carrizozo, which is a very interesting town. I won a trial in Carrizozo a few months ago, and I don't think any book has ever had a setting or even a couple scenes in Carrizozo. So I want to really focus on Carrizozo, Clovis, Alamogordo, Tucumcari, all the places that I go on a regular basis.
That's awesome. I want to see one written about Klein's Corners.
Klein's Corners is in there. Klein's Corners was in Rattlesnake Lawyer.
Oh, that's cool. And I know that since this one's named A Million Dead Lawyers, and that's a good start.
Yeah.
Why is it called Rattlesnake Lawyer?
Well, when I started as a public defender in Roswell. And as I was driving on Route 285, right across the Chavez County line, there's the Mesa, New Mexico. And there's a sign that said, "Watch for rattlesnakes." And literally on my first day, and I don't want to date myself, but it was more than 20 years ago, I see this sign that says, "Watch for rattlesnakes." And I just knew the book had to be called Rattlesnake Lawyer.
I love it. I love it. We're back in a couple of seconds, and they're going to make me eat a bunch of hot peppers. They're loading up the table over here with stuff. We'll see what that is. I might have to bring in some help from the interns and PAs.
I can sue if you get sick.
Awesome! Back on the Morning Brew with Friends.